Bonjour everyone and welcome back to the Waves of Your Soul. I am your humble French tarot reader slash deck goblin Marine, and today I'm super excited because we're going to be looking at my most used tarot and oracle decks of 2024. These are like my unsung heroes. They are the decks that I use the most behind the scenes and that I tend to sometimes forget to talk about on my videos along the year because they kind of live on my altar or on my desk or on my bedside table, so sometimes I forget to bring them back out and share them with you. But every year I make sure to sit down and do a video at the end of the year to present to you my most used decks, give them a chance to shine and tell you what I've been using the most behind the scenes. So none of these are new and none of these are like my top decks of the year because I'm actually going to be doing separate videos. Every year I'm going to be doing a top 10 tarot decks of 2024 and a top 10 oracle decks of 2024. Those top 10 videos are gonna be new decks that came to my collection and that really wowed me. I'm even gonna be ranking them because I'm a glutton for punishment and I like to give myself homework, so that's gonna be a whole separate thing. And if you are curious as to what are the decks that made my top 10, especially considering I'm a huge deck goblin and that I, manipulate a lot of decks throughout the year, then make sure to subscribe because that will be coming before the end of the year. There's plenty of cool content coming for December. If you're not yet subscribed, now is a perfect time to do so, as there's going to be plenty cool content to come. In December, we're also going to be doing fairy tale months, where I will be posting pick a card readings inspired by fairy tales. I wanted to bring some magic and whimsy to the month of December, as I know first 2024, especially end of the year, it's been a rough time. Collectively, everyone is going through it, so I wanted to bring some joy. Second, I know that the end of the year, whilst for a lot of people it's happy holiday time, for another part of people it can be very lonely, very sad, especially if you lost someone close to you, or if you're estranged from family, or if you live far away from family, whatever it may be. I know it's not always a good, happy time this time of year. No matter what, Christmas ads want to make us believe. So every year I'm trying to come up with new ways to bring some joy for you guys in the month of December, and this month I decided to do both a lot of content on like tarot, oracle, rounding up the year, like I was saying, top 10s, most used, all of that fun stuff for all of my deck goblins, as well as, like I was saying, a fairy tale inspired month for all of my pick a card reading, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. There'll be fairy tale spreads you'll be able to try for yourself and stuff like that. I hope I can make it. As some of you know, I navigate the waters of chronic pain, chronic illness, so that's always getting in the way of my plans, but hopefully I'll be able to produce all the content I have in mind for you guys, because I really try hard every year to make this time of year a special time for you and I. So it's just a little intro to let you know what was going to be the plan for the month of December, as I think this video is going to be the first one I'm going to be posting. And now let's talk about the good stuff. So if you're new here, first of all, welcome. It's a joy to have you. In the description box you're going to find all the names of the decks I'm mentioning today. If I have time and if I'm being a good YouTuber, I will put links. I try to, at least. I will also put other videos of mine you may want to check out. I'll put my most used decks of last year if you're curious, if you want to see if any are like the same or not. And you will also find my other social media links, blah blah blah, all of that. Let's do this. Let's have a look at my most used tarot and oracle decks of 2024. Let's get into it. So let's talk about tarot decks, as this is what I have the list of, and that's because my most used tarot decks of the year are actually new decks and are actually like my top 10 decks of 2024. And like I was saying in the intro, that's gonna be a whole separate videos, like my favorite decks of the year that I got this year. They are actually the decks I use the most because I got them this year, loved them so much, I was using them for like weeks or months at a time. So there wasn't that many older tarot decks that I used a lot, and yet there are still a few that I wanted to shout out, and you won't be surprised. If you watch my channel before, if you're familiar with my content, this is gonna be not a surprise. The first one, probably my favorite tarot deck ever, it's the Joe Sparrow Tarot. It's an indie deck by a UK creator. I mean, if you've never seen this, it means you've never been on my channel before, because I talk about this all the time. Here are the backs, and this is, like I was saying, one of my absolutely favorite tarot decks of all time. I mean, it might even be number one, thinking about it. It's hard, you know, when you're a tarot lover, to choose absolutely one, but if I really had to, if I was held at gunpoint and had to choose a tarot deck, which I don't know why that would ever happen, but you know, this is probably the one that I would choose, because it's the one that brings me the most joy. It's the one that gives me the best reading, that makes me excited, that makes me feel like I'm tapping into something magical. It's one that I constantly just go back to again and again. I never get bored of this one. I just love it so much. Every time I use it, I feel the same excitement that I did the first time I used it, and I think that tells you everything you need to know. And it's really one I just love for me. Like, it's something very, I don't know, it's like a horcrux. I feel like it holds a part of my soul, this one. So it's not one I use a lot for other people, I must say, because I have such a, I don't know, close relationship to it. It feels like it's very much mine. Ooh, I should use this for you guys in pick a card reading, because I should share this with you guys. It's really good. But yeah, in terms of my own readings I do for myself, I feel low every time I'm flared up, every time I'm not having a good time, every time I feel a little bit meh, or I'm going through it, this one never fails me. It's still a tarot deck, so it's still really, you know, tell you the truth, all of that, gives you harsh truth if you need to, but it does so in a way that brings me joy, that makes me happy, that makes me feel seen. That's it. I can't really put my fingers onto why I love this so much, except that it's absolutely the best and I adore it. So this is definitely one I constantly go to again and again throughout the years. It has never lost its spot in my all-stars kind of shelf of best tarot decks in my collection, and I don't intend on stopping using it anytime soon, because it's just delightful. This sun card is so funny. I love it because it looks like it's seen some shit, you know. The sun is a little bit traumatized, but it's like, hey, I'm still shining for you. I've seen some shit, but I'm still shining. And you know what? We can relate. So that's the Joe Sparrow Tarot. Definitely a deck I constantly go back to, so it is part of my most used, like I was saying. And actually, I've realized that now this deck comes in another box. Like, it's the same card, but the box is different. It now comes with like a two-piece box and stuff, and I have to literally convince myself I don't need it just because it has a new box. Because normally I'm really not one to have several versions of a deck. I try to avoid that because God knows I have way too many decks as it is. So my shelves are already like very full, so I don't need to have several versions of a deck. But this, considering it's like my favorite, I am very tempted to pick up the new edition. I'm trying to convince myself I don't need it, but yeah, let me know, you guys, if you have the new version. Are the cards different, the sizes and stuff? Let me know, I'm curious. Okay, let's move on. The second kind of tarot deck I constantly go back to, that is also part of my all-time favorite decks, which also will not be a surprise if you watched my channel before, is the Flow Tarot. It was part of my favorite decks of 2022 or 2023. I don't even know. Time is a weird soup. It means nothing anymore. Ever since 2020 happened, I'm like, what year is it? Honestly, are we still here? Is this really still the 21st century? What is going on? I don't know. Anyway, it's one I've had for at least 2 years, maybe 3, I don't know, and it's one that has been an absolute favorite ever since, and that I constantly go back to. Whilst the Joe Sparrow is one that I go to when I feel a bit sad or flared up, or when I need joy in my life, this one is one that I love going to when I'm feeling anxious, or when my mind is doing the most, you know, my inner gremlin is like gnawing at my thoughts, and I need to calm down. I need something meditative and something calming and soothing. Or it's one that I find fantastic for chatting with my guides, chatting with spirit, source, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. So good for me for that. It's like I can tap directly into communicating with what's larger and higher than me, and that's because my spiritual practice revolves a lot around nature, and because the ocean and water in general is something I work a lot with. I mean, I live on a tropical island, so all of this is very familiar. I look at the window, yeah, all of this is very, like, you know, it's very my environment, and because my spiritual practice is very linked to nature and very linked to my environment and what I see around me. All of these like tropical waters, whales, dolphins, that's very my vibe. Waterfalls, how I kind of tap into, like I was saying, connecting with spirit, God, the universe, source. And so I absolutely adore this one. It's very profound, it's very deep, and whilst I know it looks like a photography deck, so it's, some people might think it's not easy to use, it's so intuitive. If you feel remotely curious about this deck, I can't recommend it enough for you to give it a chance, especially because you'll see there's keywords on the card, so if you're a bit unsure as to how to read it, that will help you. And whilst the suits have been renamed, which normally you know is big no-no for me, this one I remember super easily because it starts with the same letter. So snow is swords, waves is wands, clouds is cups, and pawns are pentacles. So P for pentacles and pawns. And so as soon as I figured that out, I was like, oh, this is super easy. I don't have to figure out which is which. I really enjoy actually the keywords on the cards. And normally I'm not someone who likes keywords on my tarot cards because I have my own associations and I don't really read these keywords personally. That's never how I learned tarot. That's never something that really spoke to me in terms of tarot learning. Yet for this one, I think the keywords are really interesting because they're different and they're unique, and you know the world, you are complete. Yeah, I really like that. And look at this gorgeous image. So the Flow Tarot is always a go-to for me. The last tarot deck I wanted to mention, and then we're moving on to Oracle because that's what I have the most of to talk about today. As I was saying, tarot decks I tend to change a lot. I'm constantly changing what I'm using for you guys, for me, for pick a card readings. Oracle decks are more enduring, I will say, especially if they're ones that I'm using for like my full moon and new moon practice or that I leave on my altars. I will say that with tarot, I can use a deck a lot, but I'll use it a lot over the year, like a few weeks at a time, then I'll change, then I go back to it, then I'll change. Whether an oracle, I'm more likely to, if it's an oracle I'm using for my altar, for example, it can stay on my altar for a year. Like I have no problem doing that, whereas I wouldn't do that for a tarot. I kind of, depending on the vibe. So that's why you'll see more oracle decks here. But the last tarot I wanted to mention, the Shuffle Tarot by Destiny. It's a deck I've talked a lot about on my channel again. I absolutely adore it. At the time of me filming, it's not currently in print, but it seems to be coming in and out. It's like Destiny decks, they usually do that. They'll put a version of a deck out and then it'll go out of print, and then they'll make a new version and then it'll go out of print. So they usually reprint quite often. So if you can't find this one at the moment of me filming, I encourage you to follow Destinies on Instagram. I think they go under Shuffle Tarot actually, and like just wait until they reprint it. Hopefully they will, because they have done for all of their decks that were out of print. They always bring them back as a new version. The Shuffle Tarot is very special and a deck I constantly go back to because, as the name suggests, it takes the RWS but shuffles it. So the people are all in different places. Like you'll have the Hermit and the Empress visiting other tarot cards. All the suits have been changed up as well. So here we have the Five of Cups mixed with the Five of Swords, for example. Here for the King of Swords we have the Hierophant. For the Devil we have the Fool who's hanging out in the Devil's place. For the Star we have the person from the World card. Here for Seven of Cups, it's actually the Seven of Swords. And because this is such a brain fuck, I freaking love it. There's something that really excites my brain, that makes me excited, that makes me feel like I don't know tarot as well as I think I do, and that for me is everything, because I love learning new things. I love being like intellectually stimulated, and I love the idea of taking everything you've learned and throwing it away to start from scratch. And this really does that, because it will push you outside your comfort zone as a tarot reader. If you think you know tarot, use this and it will teach you new ways. If you have been in a tarot rut and you feel bored, then use this and suddenly you're going to feel excited and curious again, because the way you read this is going to have to be different than what you've learned. For example, for the Five of Swords, we actually have Five of Wands mixed in. So how do you add those two meanings? How do you pair Five of Swords and Five of Wands in a reading? For the Tower, we still have the Tower, but if you pay attention, the people falling are the people from the Hierophant. You know, they have those little hats. They are the sycophants from the Hierophant. And so that is so interesting. Is like, how do you mix the high, how do you add this layer of meaning, the Hierophant mixed in with Tower? Is it about exploding your spiritual belief? Is it about exploding away from tradition? Is it about your faith, having a crisis of faith? There's so many different ways you could read this, obviously depending on context. Of Pentacles with the Chariot. The Chariot is such a powerful go for it kind of energy, right? It's about go, go, go. Here it's mixed with the Knight of Pentacles, who is the opposite. The Knight of Pentacles is so slow. He's like, slow and steady, not too fast. I'll chill, I'll make it, but I won't make it the fastest. So how do those two energies can cohabit, can coexist, and how do you bring that in your reading? This is freaking awesome. It's one of the best decks in my collection. I mean, Three of Swords with the Three of Cups. Hello, talk about how your friends can help you get through a breakup or heartache. It's genius. This is genius, and it really helps me when I'm in a tarot rut, or when I also need to see something that I'm not seeing. Like if I want to know about a blockage, if I feel like shit, there's something here I'm not seeing. What am I not seeing? What is blocking me? For if you want to see how it reads, if you want to like get a taste of it, I've used this for my Hangman inspired tarot reading as part of the series I'm doing on my channel called #YourFoolsJourney, where I'm creating one pick a card reading inspired by each major arcana. If you haven't watched any of those, you're missing out. There's some really cool pick a cards, if I may say so myself. I'm doing one inspired, like I was saying, by each major. For the Hangman, I've called it What Are You Not Seeing, I think, and I'm using this deck, so I'll make sure to leave it in the cards. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it yet. You'll see how this reads. It's a good time. Okay, let's move on to Oracle decks. As this is what I was explaining to you guys earlier, are usually the kind of decks I have the tendency to leave at the longest, whilst my mood will change, so I'm going to change tarot and not use them for as longer period at a time. I will have no problem leaving an Oracle deck on my desk or on my altar for like 6 months, 8 months. One of them has been there for a year. So usually I will say it's in the background. These are the ones that I manipulate the most because they are the ones that are staying up. So one that is definitely one of my most used decks this year and every year ever since I've had it really is the Spread Machine Oracle by Kimberly Tan. This is an indie oracle deck, and it's a deck that you can use to create spreads, and I freaking love this because this is one that pretty much stays on my bedside table and that I use every time I want to read for myself, but I don't know what I want to read on. Has this happened to you guys? You feel like you want to be doing a reading for yourself, but you are like, I don't really know what I want to ask myself. Like, I don't necessarily have a pressing issue I want to read about, but I still want to pull my cards and I want to have a little introspection. I want to use my decks. This is great because I can pull cards, create spreads, but this is so good. It also helps me create readings for you guys, for my pick a card readings. I take inspiration from this. For the full moon and new moon, I always like pull 3 cards and find out what I need to know, and then create a spread around that, and then put tarot on top of it to create my reading. I mean, this is just fantastic. It's super useful both for my personal practice as well as for my content creation practice, like I was saying, for reading for you guys. It's one I could see reading for clients and stuff. Like, it's just so good. It's really good. It's super useful for me. It's really something that I could not see myself without now that I have it, because it helps me when I don't have inspiration, or it helps me narrow it down when I have too many ideas, which can be like sometimes both. Sometimes I can feel very inspired, and sometimes I have too many ideas and I need to narrow it down. So this is so good. As you can see on each of the card, you will have the main keyword, and then you have questions, so you can use this for journaling. I've done that before. It's so great. And then at the bottom you have the different categories. So some are seeker category, success. We've had some shadow work category. There are some focus areas which I thought I would use actually for my 2025 zodiac sign readings. I need to start filming those because they're going to take me ages, but I will do them for you guys. I know you enjoyed it. I'll probably use those as well to create a spread for that. So yeah, this is just a go-to for me as a Spread Machine Oracle by Kimberly M. Tan. Like I said, it's indie. I will make sure to leave the creator's website down below. Let's move on. A deck that has been living on my altar ever since I've gotten it, that I'm pretty much pulling from every single day. So obviously it's one of my most used because I'm pulling a card a day. It's the Radiant Crystal Oracle by Bouchette design. This is the second edition. It's a indie oracle deck. You can get this on Etsy, and I think other indie shops are stocking Bouchet designs now as well. I think Salon des Arcanes is stocking her stuff as well. As the name suggests, this is a crystal deck, and it's really cute because everything is on the card, which for me, when I'm doing a little card pull a day for like the energy of the day, it's perfect. Like I will pull a card, I get 3 keywords here, which can be enough. Sometimes that's enough for me for my day. Or if I want to, I'll turn it around and then I have an affirmation, a little message around the energies, and even a plant. So this is really, really versatile again, which is why it's one of my most used. For me, for pulling a card of the day, it's been fantastic. It really, just a little message of like, okay, energy I can tap into. I don't even have all of the crystals here, obviously, because there's quite a lot, so I don't own all of them. But I don't use this as the idea of necessarily having to work with that crystal, but more so working with its energy, and I can do that if I own the crystal or not. However, if I wanna be making a little crystal grid on my altar, for example, or if I'm like, oh, I feel like, you know, I need to carry a crystal with me, or I need to put a crystal under my pillow or something like that to like tap into something, then this will be really great at indicating what crystal I need to work with. I love using this as well for my full moon and new moon readings. I'll put a crystal around what crystal can I meditate with for this like lunar cycle. I loved using this for you guys for pick a card reading. I use this for all of my 2025 year ahead readings that you guys have been booking with me. My like personal readings, I always pull a card for you guys, your crystal of the year. It's so really, really versatile. There's so many choices here. The keywords on the bottom, they're great. You get 3. So for 2024, this has definitely been my go-to crystal deck. I mean, if you know I'm a crystal bitch at heart, I have quite a few of them. As you can see, I've got my rose quartz bowl here, I've got my little clear quartz, I've got some pink tourmaline. I'm always carrying crystal around. I make jewelry with them. I really enjoy working with them, so it's no wonder I like to work with a crystal deck as well throughout the year, and this year this has definitely been my go-to, so we love that. Okay, let's move on. Another very like supportive, anchoring energy that I always like to work with for myself throughout the year is animal guides, animal spirit. For myself, ever since I've started working with oracle decks, really the first decks I worked with were animals, and I never really stopped working with animal energy. And even for my friends, every time they're always asking me like, can you put an animal for me? Can I get a little oracle deck of animal message for me? It's another energy I offer a lot in my pick a card readings, again, paid readings, stuff like that. I just love working with animal energy. Like I was telling you guys, for me, my spiritual practice is very rooted in nature. That's my way of connecting to source, spirit, the universe. And so the 2 decks I used the most this year for animal energy have been the Spirit Animal Oracle and the French version of Animal Kin Oracle. So you guys might know this as the Animal Kin Oracle in English. I have the French mass market version. Both of these are mass market. Both of these I've had for years, but none of them are new. But they're still very beloved and most used in my collections. All year long, there's been one or the other on my altar this year. I have a few animal decks, I have a few animal oracle decks. I really, like I said, enjoy them. This year there has no really competition. These were the 2 that were always out on my altar, and they're just workhorses. So this is the Spirit Animal Oracle by Colette Byron Reed. I have edged it in green because my copy was getting so disgusting, because this is really truly a deck I've used to death ever since I've gotten this. I think 2019 or 2018 or 2019, I can't remember. It's been most used ever since. I love this one because the message is on the card. You get an animal plus you get a message. So this is one I'm pulling for constantly for other people as well as myself. Like I said, like whether it's in my pick a cards, whether it's in my year ahead readings, whether it's friends, loved ones who are like, can I get a little message of guidance, a little message of support? Always this deck delivers. People love the artwork. It feels very kind, very beautiful. The messages always resonate. It's just a really good deck, you guys. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It's got like 68 cards. It's huge, so we love it. The guidebook is really good. It has upwards and reverse meaning, and for me it's the best Colette Byron Reed deck she's ever done. I don't really vibe with her more recent stuff. I don't have any of her recent stuff, but this is magical, it's beautiful, and I freaking love it. So this is one that I constantly pull from, and that always delivers. There's a chameleon card. You know I'm gonna be loving it because there's a chameleon for me. Specific requirements for an animal oracle to be a favorite: needs a chameleon or a whale or a dolphin, preferably all three, or a turtle. You know, any kind of like animal I might see in my personal tropical environment makes me happy, but the chameleon especially makes me happy because it's not something we see often, and yet we have them in the garden here. They are quite common in Reunion, so seeing them on my cards always make me happy. The other animal deck I've used a ton this year is the Animal Kin. This is so pretty. It's so gorgeous. I love all the beautiful borders. I mean, this is one that I think a lot of you guys are familiar with. Look at those edges. They are gone. Those edges are gone. They're gone. I literally, you can tell how much I've used it by the fact that the gilding has fully given up on me. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It shows how much I love this deck. Another one that has not just the animal but a keyword on the card. So if I don't want to use the guidebook, I don't have to. And yet the guidebook is so good. I really love what this has to say, because this is very rooted in like the life of the animal, or how they eat, or how they sleep, or how they hunt. So you always learn something new with this one about the animals, which is great. Yeah, I love it. I've taken it to South Africa when I went to South Africa this year, and the amount of synchronicities that happened of me pulling a card and ending up seeing that animal in real life, like pulling the giraffe and seeing the giraffe, you know, pulling a lion and seeing a lion. It was crazy. It was crazy, and it was beautiful, and it was magical. I really adore this one, and it has a really good, again, variety of animals. It has lots of cards. I think, how many cards this one? 65. So another one that gives you plenty of choice, not just animal for the northern hemisphere. There was a lot of African animal, like I said. They have like the dog card, which is linked to forgiveness. I mean, come on, this is so cute. I love this one so much. There's even a unicorn one, which is beautiful. So yeah, this one is great. Kingfisher, which is another one that I pulled in South Africa, and literally we saw that the next day. Just beautiful deck. I really adore it. I've been pulling from it constantly. I would say this one is mostly for me, I think, whereas the spirit animal I ended up using a lot for you guys in picker cards or in your head readings for friends. You know, the animal kin, I'd say I used more for myself. So interesting that we have two different vibes, but both of these are equally good. Okay, let's continue. A deck that, again, I freaking love. I'm constantly using it. It's one of the unsung heroes of my collection. We have to talk about the Poesis Oracle. This is the mass market French edition, but you guys in English, you have it in indie. I don't know why they haven't picked it up in English mass market yet. I hope they do one day. We can get this in French mass market, which I'm very grateful for. So as the name suggests, the Poesis Oracle, this is an oracle based around poems. So again, can you see the theme? Lots of cards. We know that by now. For me, the more cards the better. This is 77 cards. We love to see it. I'm a greedy deck goblin, so I love a lot of cards. It's not why it's my most used, but it definitely helps being my most used. As the name suggests, the Poesis Oracle, this, like I was saying, is a deck based on poems. Each of the cards in the guidebook is not linked to a regular guidance message, but it is linked to a poem. And if you're curious about this deck, but you don't want to invest in it, you just want to see how it reads, you can find the whole poem library online on the website. You can read all the poems, so before you buy it, you can get an idea as to how it reads. This is just so profound for me. I love this so much. I pull a card for myself every full moon, every new moon. I read the poems. I use them as incantations at the beginning of readings. I have used this as a regular oracle deck and just used the keywords here without, you know, referring to the poems. There is so many different ways you can use this deck. It's super versatile. I freaking love this. This one of my most used in my collection. I really couldn't see myself without it. The artwork, while it's not my favorite because I'm normally a huge color lover, I've learned to really like fall in love with it and grow fond of it. And like I said, if you don't want to pay attention to the poems, all the keywords are really good. It's a really balanced deck. It talks about like light and shadow, so really great to pair with tarot, for example, because it can hold its own. Well balanced, lots of different themes, but the poems are also beautiful. This is my favorite card, obviously. Just all the feels. Let's move on, continuing with an oracle deck I've used non-stop this year. pretty much it's never left my desk, so it's been like definitely one of my most used. We have the Power of Surrender cards. Again, it's not a huge surprise, I think, for those of you guys who watch my channel, because I've talked about it in many monthly favorites. It might even have been in my most used last year, I can't even remember, but it's one I kind of always have around because it's so useful, especially if I need to, again, pull a little card. I don't want to go into a big guidebook, but I need answers. I need to find out what's going on. This will deliver. First, those backs. Absolutely gorgeous. I love this. So nice. It's very meditative. And as the name suggests, the Power of Surrender, this is all about surrendering, letting go, and it's literally surrender to. You'll have surrender to inner peace, surrender your addictions, surrender unhealthy relationships. So this is the kind of deck that will spill the tea, not love and light deck. If you want a deck that's gonna be like, yes, darling, you're doing so well, well done. No. Steer away. This will spill the tea, this will tell you the truth, but you know what? I really need that sometimes. Sometimes I need a deck that's gonna give it to me give it to me straight, the way that I need to hear it. It's gonna tell me the tea and really tap into what's blocking me, what's getting in my way, how I'm self-sabotaging. It's so good for any kind of questions you have around career, day-to-day life, like a relationship. You can use this for anything. I've used this for people for anything around why they're being blocked, or why is this not working out, or why am I not managing to do that, or why is this delayed. Whatever question you have around blockages, challenges, obstacles, this is so good. Like, it will always give you the truth. And it's super affordable. It's a mass market deck. I think when I checked last time it was less than 20 euros. This is hugely underrated, and yet it's really useful, practical deck. If you want something to really spill the tea, if you want something that you can use for any kind of areas of your life, like I said, even for career, relationship, whatever, this is really good, really versatile. One I love to use, again, in my picker cards. For myself, it kind of lives on my desk, has never left my desk. I'm always using this one. I'm always pulling. If my friends are going to me and they're like, I really don't know what to do, can you pull a card for me? Most of the time, unless I'm doing like a bigger tarot reading, but if they just have a little question and they want one card, I'll pull from this, and like literally 100% of the time it will answer the question. I know a lot of you guys got it after I was sharing it on my channel, and you said you were also obsessed and you were so glad you got this. So I'm glad this is getting love and praise. So this is really cool. So this is the Power of Surrender card. Did I say who it was by? It's Hay House, and it's by Judith Orloff. Let's continue and talk about full moon and new moon readings. I've kind of switched things around a little bit. This year I still was pulling a deity card for myself every new moon and every full moon, but I was switching and changing the decks I was using for that. I didn't really stick to one oracle deck as I did last year, so I can't really count them as most used, because one time I was pulling from an Egyptian oracle deck, another time from a Greek oracle deck, another time from a more all over the world kind of divinity oracle deck. So my full moon and new moon practice definitely changed a little bit this year. The one constant though that I was pulling for every full moon, every new moon of 2024 has been this one, L'Or et Ombre, Oracle d'Alchimie Lunaire. This is a French mass market deck, and it's really profound. The name suggests it's a deck about lunar cycles, alchemy. It's a very profound kind of deck. It's not a deck that you want to be pulling a little card a day kind of vibes. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but that's not for me how I like to work with it. Compared to other decks I shared with you earlier, where you can definitely pull a card a day, get your little message and move on, the energies in this deck are very, very heavy and profound and deep, and so I like to work with this over literally a whole lunar cycle. I'll pull a card, 1 to 2 cards, and I'll work with them from new moon to full moon, and then I'll pull 1 to 2 cards and work with it from full moon to new moon, and it's enough. And there's a lot you can get into, and I mean, look at the guidebook, it's huge. For each of the cards you have 3-4 pages. It's all in French obviously, but as you can see, you have messages, you have keywords, there's a lot here. We have a very profound kind of deck, and the writing is beautiful. It's so deep, it feels like a spiritual experience. This is one of my most spiritually useful deck, I will say. The decks that makes me feel the most connected to, something higher than myself. It talks about big esoteric concept, but at the same time it's not too occult, I will say. So if you, as long as you speak French or you don't mind using Google Translate, you won't get lost with this. It's not like a fluffy kind of text that would make you feel a little bit headachy, right? But the themes are profound, and we talk about spiritual evolution, transmutation, transformation, and yeah, it's a really great deck. I enjoy it a lot. Here are the backs. I love them, they're really cool. I love the artwork. One of my most used decks this year, but one of my most used decks ever since I've gotten it. Again, I can't remember if it was 2020, 2021, but ever since I've gotten this, I've been obsessed. The deck is split into different categories. So you have the planets. So here we had Neptune, for example. So you have all the planets. You have all the moon phases, as well as here we have the blue moon. So you have all the moon phases. Here we have Pluto. And then you have alchemical animals. So and those alchemical animals are split into water, air, fire, and earth. So here we have the salamander, for example. We have the swan as one of the alchemical elements. We have Mars. We have symbolism as well, alchemical symbolism such as the Ouroboros. There's a lot there. There's a lot you can work with. On each of the, here we have ancestors as part of the symbolism. Here we have the first quarter. So it's very alchemical, it's very astrologically heavy, it's very spiritual, it's very deep, profound. It talks about spiritual development, personal development, and yet it's really well written. Like I said, one of my favorite guidebooks that I love reading for myself. This is one I've never really used for anyone else, I don't think. Maybe I've used it in one pick a card reading right at the beginning of me doing my readings, I think. But ever since then, it's one I use for me because I need the guidebook for this. I need to read the guidebook. That's where the magic is. I love the artwork, it's beautiful, but the guidebook is where, for me, the magic is for this one. Reading the guidebook is really a gift I give myself when I do full moon and new moon readings for myself, so I love this one so much. It's one of my favorite oracle decks ever, one of my favorite French oracle decks. I really, really enjoy it. If you guys are French speaking, or if you don't mind translating something and you're remotely curious about astrology and alchemy, this is a beautiful gift to give yourself. It's really good. And let's talk about like self-care and self-love kind of decks. So the decks that you like to pull from when you need a hug. And this one is one that I leave on my bedside table, that has been literally living on my bedside table all year. It's not moved. It's constantly there. I literally just pulled it out to show it for you guys, but it's one I'm constantly like pulling out at night if I need a little card, a little hug, something comforting. This is my go-to. L'Oracle de l'amour de soi by Janet Chewy, which means the oracle of self-love. So this, originally in English, it was indie, and then again, we're very lucky in France, it was picked up mass market. I don't know if you guys in English you can get it indie or mass market now, I have no idea, but I know that at some point it existed in English indie. So because at the time I wanted to pick it up, and then I realized it was translated in French mass market, and I was like, perfect, thank you so much. I will pick it up then. First, it's a self-love deck, so all the messages are very kind, but it's not all love and light. It does talk about things that, such as grief, anger, things like that. I love the fact that the messages are on the card, so when it's nighttime and I just want to pull a little message for myself, like a little hug message or something, then this is perfect. I don't have to go in the guidebook if I don't want to. There is a guidebook. The guidebook is good, but honestly, this is everything you need to know. And I love the artwork. It's so beautiful. It's very fantasy inspired. We have dragons, fairies, and mermaids, and I really, really love. There you go. See, this is a grief card. So it doesn't all talk about happy, joyful things, even though it's a self-love card. I like that. I like my oracle decks to be very balanced. I like them to, especially if I'm going to pull from them often throughout the year, I like them to meet me where I am, and I'm not always in a happy mood, right? So I like the fact that it can meet me where I'm at, and it's literally, this one has not left my bedside table all year. I've been pulling from it a lot at night time, and it's felt like a really cute little gift I could give myself. I've enjoyed also bringing it for you guys for wrapping up readings, like pick a card readings, just last message from your guides, from your higher self. It's a really beautiful deck to use if you want to wrap wrap up your reading, if you want like last message. And like I said, the fact that it's also fantasy inspired obviously is so up my alley. I love all the dragons, everything like that. That's so my vibe. I don't know if you guys can get this in English or mass market. I don't know what the deal is, but for my French speakers again, don't sleep on this one. It's gorgeous. There are a couple of other self-love kind of decks that I got this year that are in the same kind of area, but you will see them in my top 10 oracle decks, so because they're new, whereas this one is not new. So definitely, if you like those kind of decks that feel like you can give yourself a little treat, that are in that vibe of like self-love, self-care, things like that, make sure to watch out for my top 10 oracle decks of the year, because I've got some great options there this year that I found. We're gonna wrap up today's video by giving you a glimpse into a new deck. So technically it's cheating, but I wanted to end on a little fun surprise. This is a deck that's very new to me. I've only had it since mid-November, but I think, and this is kind of like a little bet we're putting on, I have a feeling this could appear in my most used decks for next year, right? Because it's too late for me to say it's gonna be most used for 2024 because we're almost at the end of it, and yet I have a feeling I could be using it a ton for the year ahead because I'm already using it a lot since I've started using it. So it's kind of like a bet for future Marine. Like, we're gonna see in a year's time, have I really used this deck as much as I think I will, because I have a feeling this is so fun and versatile and cute that yes, this is a deck I could use a lot in the next 12 months. So this is kind of like a fun little bet I wanted to share with you, and it is the Little Frog Guide to Self-Care. This is by Mabel Equay, I think you say. This is a mass market deck, Octopus Publishing. I've never had anything from them, but you guys, I'm obsessed. First off, it's 52 cards. Hello, we love it. Many cards. Thank you so much. 52 cards for the 52 weeks of the year, I assume, so you could pull a card a week. We love it. It was super affordable. I paid like 10 euros for it, which was really good for 52 cards, and it comes with a little stand you can pull your card in. I mean, how cute is that? So honestly, yeah, the price was amazing, and I literally bought this sight unseen. I saw the box, I was like, yes. Add to cart. Literally just this, I was like, absolutely, because I could not find anything about this online. There was no walkthrough, there was nobody sharing it on Instagram, nothing. It was like the great void. I was like, okay, do I take a chance? I mean, it's less than 10 euros, it's 52 cards. I'm just gonna try it and see what happens. And do I have zero regrets? Oh my god, this is so joyful. I'm obsessed, and I feel like this could be a deck that gets very used in the year ahead. So this is why I'm telling you we're taking a little bit of a bet here, and we're gonna see what happens. So the current stock is very thin, let's just start with that, but you know what, for that price, who cares? And as the name suggests, the Little Frog's Guide to Self-Care, this is an affirmation deck. All of the cards you have an affirmation, and look at it, look, so cute. I can't. I'm obsessed. I've been using this in a lot of you guys reading your head readings as like your mantra of the year, and you freaking loved it. All of you guys I used this for, you were like, oh my god, where do I get this? I need this deck in my life. I've shared it on Instagram. I am gonna use it in pick a card readings very soon. I have been putting a card for myself and leaving it on my altar using this little thing they gave you. This is just everything. On every single card you have an I'm statement, and you have a cute little frog with fabulous shoes. I mean, come on, literally. And you know what, I was surprised with this, because not only is it super cute, obviously, it also has some powerful messages that are not just happy, love and light, but some ones that are more around your fears and looking at your trauma. It is a very good self-care affirmation deck. It feels like it's not only cute, but it's useful, and it has some powerful mantra. And look, even when I'm struggling, there is undeniable magic that exists within me. I don't need to return to all the versions of myself to satisfy people who aren't ready to see how I've changed. Yes, I mean, this is a big one, right? It's so brave of me to exist. I thank my body parts. Example, I'm thankful for my hands and for all the ways they help me. I am a work in progress. I am smart. I'm more than my struggles. I'm willing and excited to grow and learn. I'm reclaiming my childlike sense of wonder. And this is so good, you guys. It literally, I can be empathetic without being consumed by struggles that are not mine to carry. Yes, you guys on Instagram when I shared this, you were obsessed. I was saying for wrapping up a reading, your mantra for the month, your mantra for the week, whatever it is, just a little message of support, of guidance. Adorable. I will not be overly critical of myself and of others. Yes, little froggy, I call. So this is less a most used of 2024 because it arrived so late in the year, and more so a kind of like bet as to I think this will be most used of 2025 because I'm already using this a lot ever since I've gotten it, and I have a feeling that it could live on my altar for the whole year. I mean, I kind of want to pull a card a week now. I've got the thing here, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to leave it at after the video. It's going to be a good time. So that's it, you guys. These were all of my most used decks of 2024. I hope you enjoyed seeing them. I want to know what are your most used decks of 2024, your most used oracle deck or your most used tarot deck. Let me know in the comments. I love to chat with you guys. I try and respond to all of my comments, even though sometimes towards the end of the year I get a little bit overwhelmed, so I'm not as quick. I get to them though. I get to them. Just give me time, and I will definitely reply. I hope you guys are having a good rest of 2024. I hope that you're being kind to yourself, you're taking care of yourself. I'm sending you so much sunshine, so much good vibes, and until my next video, keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!